Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for May 6th to 12th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 4 shows, I watched 1 movie, and I listened to 2 books. First this week I finished Anna in Between by Elizabeth Nunez. This was Saja's pick for my Booktubers Pick My TBR project, and it's set on a Caribbean island, and although it doesn't say which one, Saja says it's Trinidad. This book follows a woman who has gone home for her yearly visit to her elderly folks on the island, as she now works in publishing in New York City. While home, she finds out that her mother has breast cancer. She also soon realizes that the lemon-sized lump has been something that her parents have just been ignoring for the past couple of years. Her mother is scared and refuses to leave the island to seek advanced medical assistance. This book is an incredibly slow burn, dealing with family, politics, and the feeling of not quite belonging when your class is in between places or identities. For instance, her ex-husband was adamant that she was only African American while she was in the States, which dismisses the myriad of her other identities. And her mother teases her that she's not from the Caribbean anymore because she does things differently than they do on the island. The feeling of not being enough of one of your identities is universal for anyone caught between any label. And this gray area is explored in this novel. This is a fascinating character study, and I would love to read more about the history of the Caribbean because I was not taught that stuff in school, so Sajid, if you have any more book recs, let me know. The second book I read this week was Before Ever After by Samantha Soto. This pick for my TBR came from Lewisty, and he decided to represent an author that he loves from the Philippines. This book is about Shelley, a young woman who loses her husband in a tragic accident. 3 years later, a man shows up on her doorstep that looks exactly like him. This novel jumps around in time and contains a road trip through Europe as well as a trip to the Philippines. And saying much else about it would mean spoilers. What I can say is I devoured this. I started it on Friday night and spent most of Saturday evening finishing it. Right from the first page, the writing is engaging and the plot just keeps moving. The tour guide tells these stories from forgotten history that are charming and interconnected, and the people on the tour have tangible personalities. I felt like I was vicariously traveling through Europe in a beat-up van with them. I always want to go on an adventure, but this novel took my wanderlust up a few notches. I highly recommend this book if you want adventure, mystery, or romance with solid characters and an ever-changing setting. This week I finished the 7th season of Scandal. Part of the finale felt like it was wrapping up the series as a whole, and I have been too scared to look up whether or not it is completely over. I'm hoping it isn't. If it's still happening, please let me know about it down below. If it is done, just let me continue to dream that it's not over. This week in Riverdale, my best friend has a theory that they're going to use more inaccurate twin bullshit to explain who the Black Hood is, and I promise to rant about it in a wrap-up on her behalf if that does happen in the future. As for a series of unfortunate events, I have the Volunteers Fighting Disease song stuck in my head, but not the song from the show. Tim Curry is ha-ha-haing and hee-hee-heeing as he's trying to give me a heart-shaped balloon. He sings in the audiobooks. It's fun to watch this show with people who haven't read the books because they have no idea what's in store for the Baudelaires. As for Survivor this week, a power couple remains and a strong individual immunity castaway was voted off. I guess they aren't bringing back a wild card. Yet, anyway. Also, Wendell gave up an afternoon with his dad for an advantage on Ghost Island, which didn't end up helping him, but he didn't end up needing it anyway. The movie I went to see this week was Infinity War. Upon leaving the theater, I had 2 non-spoilerly thoughts. What the hell did I just watch? And it was nice to see my favorite city in a Marvel flick. There's a scene where Vision and Scarlet Witch are walking up a hill, and before it even announces that they were in Scotland, my brain immediately went, that's the top of Cockburn Street facing the Royal Mile. And that kebab shop is actually the baked potato shop. I used to walk up that hill a lot when I lived there because my tours started across the street. It was fun to see them doing superhero things on my old tour route. The first book I listened to this week was Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the 3rd installment in the Illuminae files and the wrap-up of the series. I've read part of this series as physical books and part as audiobooks, and both formats are really interesting. The books are mixed media and the audiobooks are full cast, so each character has their own voice actor. When I first started this audiobook, I was worried that I had forgotten too much about the other 2 books to really know what was going on. But as time went on, I remembered little bits of Illuminae and Gemini. The book was very good at filling in those blanks for someone who didn't have the time or the effort for doing a reread. There isn't much I can say that wouldn't be a spoiler for the rest of the series, but I did guffaw a time or 2 at blatant Hamilton references. If you are interested in mixed media sci-fi, give this a shot. "This is my shot and I'm not throwing it away," was an actual line. The other audiobook I listened to this week was All Are Wrong Todays by Elon Mastai, which was Desiree's pick for my TBR. This is a time travel novel where Tom Barron somehow goes from his utopian 2016 to what we would call 2016. And it is possibly the best take on time travel that I have ever consumed. My favorite was Back to the Future, and now I feel that franchise has been knocked out of first place. Firstly, Desiree is completely right. If you can consume audiobooks, that is the way to go with this because it is read by the author and he does it very well. Tom Barron is about my age at the time of this novel and in a career rut, so his father employs him as a contingency agent for a chrononaut. Chrononaut is a fancy way to say time travel because Tom's father has invented a time machine that uses the radiation trail of the world's greatest invention, and basically Tom is an understudy in case something goes wrong with the lead chrononaut. This book deals with so many issues: family, existence, temporal drag, physics, the theory of self. Not to mention ethics and affairs. It is a truly fascinating journey that I highly suggest everyone undertake. The complexity of talking about time travel can often be a deterrent in the enjoyment of novels, but this one makes fun of that as the protagonist figures out how to explain things. This is my favorite read of the project so far, and if you even think you might be interested in this concept, please read this book. I've already harassed a friend who I know enjoys time travel books to acquire it. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you next time. Bye! This week in Riverdale, my best friend has a theory that it's a demon.